Hello there and welcome to Absolutely Criminal.
Good evening, everyone.
My name is Andrew Martin. This is the show where the co-hosts kiss each other between videos. Right beside me as always is Tiffie Lou. Hi Tiffie.
Hi, how is everyone tonight?
All right. Well, tonight we're going to talk about a few things. First, the Lori Vallow case. I don't know how many of you have been following it, but it's pretty bonkers and it just wrapped up. She just got um,
Sentenced.
well, she got her verdict. I'm not sure if
Or
she's
not
been sentenced
sentenced.
yet.
No, she
Yeah.
got, yeah, she's actually guilty, though. We can actually say she's guilty.
She
Yes.
is highly guilty. Yeah, and
Right.
it's one of the most bizarre sort of stories I've heard, and there's so many layers to it. So we'll get into that later. Second, CBS has a 48 hours coming up soon about Chandler Halderson. So we thought we'd take a look back at this case. Chandler Halderson killed his parents
Mm.
and then tried to cover it up. But he's one of these guys that he just didn't seem to have a plan to cover it up. It was
He's
just
like a pathological liar, and he's also really bad at it?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so it's one of those where you go, how did he think he was going to get away with it? Kind of like Chris Watts or really any of these guys that we cover. Um, and then at the end, we have an 87-year-old grandmother, and you won't believe what she did in her self-defense.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually in awe.
yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah.
we'll get to that at the end. Right now, we want to say hi to JPJ. Are you driving tonight? Uh, and Ms. Jackson is here. Renee also. I don't think I missed anybody, but welcome everybody. We have a pretty good show for you tonight. So first, we'll start with the murderous mama, Lori Vallow. And in case you've been hiding under a rock, like we like to do sometimes, here is the story for you.
Prison in 3 short days. The so-called doomsday mom was found guilty of killing her 2 kids who once lived in Chandler.
She's also guilty of conspiring in the murder of her husband's first wife, Tammy. Fox 10 investigator Justin Lum previews Judgment Day for Vallow.
She needs help. Yeah. She needs some serious help.
The case of Lori Vallow is rooted in the East Valley. Her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, sounded the alarm to Gilbert police back in 2019 about Lori's mental health as the mother of 3 became transfixed on preparing for the end of the world. Charles would hire attorney Taylor Larson to file for divorce.
Not often that someone comes in and says, hey, I want to get a divorce, and it's because my wife thinks she's a goddess and she can't die and that she's trying to murder me.
Charles would be shot and killed by Lori's late brother, Alex Cox, in Chandler. Police say a $1 million life insurance policy was the motive. The case took a turn when Lori moved her 2 children, 7-year-old J.J. Vallow and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan, to Rexburg, Idaho. The kids disappeared shortly after, sparking a nationwide search.
You had law enforcement agencies in Chandler and Gilbert, Arizona involved. You had law enforcement in Idaho, Utah, Hawaii, and the FBI. I mean, you had multiple agencies looking at various parts of this thing.
In June of 2020, authorities discovered the remains of JJ and Tylee buried in the backyard of Chad Daybell, Lori's husband and alleged co-conspirator. By May of 2023, Lori was found guilty on several counts, including first-degree murder in her children's deaths and conspiring in the murder of Tammy Daybell, Chad's first wife of nearly 30 years. The jury convinced that she used her religious beliefs to justify the murders.
I hope that nobody ever has to go through this. I hope nobody ever has to see and hear the details of what happened to JJ, to Tylee, and to Tammy.
Lori faces up to life in prison without parole. It's been a long road for loved ones of victims like Vicky Hoban, the aunt of Tammy Daybell.
Because for me, at the end of the day, Monday, I hope that the judge has sentenced her. And once that's done, I'm putting it behind me and she's dead to me. And I have to look at it that way because I can't live with it anymore.
Justin Lum, Fox 10 News.
Yeah, so that's a really good summary, and we're putting together notes for an episode for this eventually as well. Um, so Lori Vallow met this guy Chad Daybell, and he writes. Are you familiar with the writings of Chad Daybell,
No,
Tiffy?
I am not.
No, okay. Well, he is a sort of a, I don't know if it's science fiction, but it's sort of fantasy fiction about the end of days. And he has his own idea about how it's going to come about, and he has a special place within it. So it's a religious extremist group, an offshoot of the Mormons, and he offered several of those doomsday themed books, and he was considered a visionary by those around him. Now, Lori Vallow had two children, Tylee Ryan, she was 17, and JJ Vallow was 7. Tylee was last seen in September of 2019, and JJ was last seen around the same time. He was attending school in Rexburg. And Lori afterward provided misleading information about their whereabouts, and she claimed at one point that JJ was in relatives with Arizona. Well, law enforcement followed up with that relative in Arizona and found out that there was nothing of the case. And then by that time, her and Chad Daybell had jetted off to Hawaii. And yeah, but we're getting ahead of ourselves because, as you heard in the news report, Charles Vallow, who was Lori's fourth husband out of 5, was shot and killed by her brother Alex Cox in 2019. And at the time, Alex claimed self-defense. There is body cam online of police showing up to the house. And evidently, he made a good enough argument to the police because no charges were filed. And he later goes on to die himself. Um,
All of this looks like it's happening in like the same year.
mhm.
2019 was like a year of death for her.
Yep. And in 2019, in October, Tammy Daybell, who was Chad's wife, that's the frog-looking fellow, she died in her sleep, and her death was initially ruled as natural, but later the investigation deemed it as suspicious. And so we don't know, or maybe somebody out there does. I haven't heard whether or not her death has been linked to either of them yet, or if Alex Cox seems to be the family hitman. Uh,
But you're saying he also died that same year.
yes, yep,
Hmm.
Charles, yeah. And then so everybody dies at around the same time, and then these two jokers jet off to Hawaii, and that's where she was arrested in February 2020 on charges of desertion and non-support of dependent children. And they kind of gave her a deadline date to produce the children because they said they were safe and all that. So, but that deadline came and went, and there were no children produced. Sadly, they were found dead later on Chad's property.
Like underground, like he buried him.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So Chad was arrested in June 2020, shortly after the discovery of those remains, and he faced charges of destroying or concealing evidence. Both Lori and Chad faced serious legal repercussions, obviously, with the possibility of further charges as the investigation went on. They maintained their innocence, and Chad even showed up to uh, Lori's early court dates, and he was sitting there amongst the audience, just watching Lori
Before he got arrested himself.
before he got arrested himself.
Hmm.
Yeah, and in Hawaii, they had this beautiful outdoor wedding, and they had all these photographs taken of it, and they didn't have a care in the world.
Crazy.
Yeah,
So those were her own birth children,
correct.
not like her ex's kids or
Yeah,
whatever.
I believe
Oh
that
my
was between
gosh.
her and Charles.
That is horrifying.
Oh, and thank you, Kim. Kim is saying that Tammy Daybell was exhumed and was deemed a homicide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, so it was this was a nationwide covered case. It was on Dateline NBC, and it's just been wild. So Lori was, I believe, trying to plead insanity, but she ended up being found guilty, and she's now awaiting sentencing. If I'm correct on that.
Yeah, I haven't heard about a sentencing.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the mock rocket scientists. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this case.
Yeah, we've already done a story on Mr. Halderson. What's interesting is a lot of people keep poking it and watching our old story. Every now and again, we get a little surge of views on that still. And we did it
hmm
like what 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, that's been one of our most popular videos overall, and people still watch it.
Yeah.
So we'll watch a little bit from that and then commentate on it. But yeah, Chandler. Well, you'll see. Let's just start
Let's
the
just
video
get
here.
going. All right.
Yep, this is the introduction. Then we're going to look at a phone call where Chandler's father finds out, and we hear this as he finds out that Chandler has been lying to him about pretty much everything.
Oh yeah,
He said
that's
he
a
had a job at
yeah.
SpaceX.
Oh my
He,
gosh.
he was going to be an astronaut and all kinds of other things. He had his girlfriend believing all this stuff,
Oh yeah.
that they were going to move away to Florida together. She had made plans, and the deadline. He kept making excuses as to why this was not happening, and eventually, I guess it got to be too much for him, and deadlines were coming up. His dad found out, and so as you do, he just flat out killed them. So here's the some of the backstory on Chandler, and then we'll look at those phone calls.
This is Chandler. He used to have a pretty sweet life. 23 years old, tall and handsome, and from a loving family. Thanks in part to his genetics, his birthplace, and his parents' finances, life afforded him endless opportunities. He was in a relationship with a smart, pretty, and supportive girlfriend who even agreed to move to a new state with him. He was buddies with his older brother, and the two of them had plenty of time for online gaming together. He still lived with his parents, but they owned a beautiful 2,300 square foot home in a quiet neighborhood. Besides, it would just give him that once-in-a-lifetime chance to live rent-free, save money, and go to school full-time. How could it have been any better? Well, how about a paid internship while his parents pay his tuition? With the little spare time that would allow, he could be a rescue diver for the police and really give back to the community. But why not shoot for the stars, maybe even literally one day? A job at SpaceX might make that possible. The lofty salary and great benefits would certainly make it possible to plan a nice wedding and maybe start a family. Chandler was really going places. In his mind. This is a man whose full-time job was faking having a full-time job, and it would lead to murder. And this is absolutely criminal.
All right.
Oh my gosh, I was an old one. I can understand why people said I talk slow. Sounds like I'm getting dragged out.
Yeah. Also, I think our computer hard drive may be struggling a little bit and adding to that delay. But
Yeah, you're just trying to make excuses.
yeah. But speaking of your voice, Tiffany, Kim Burley says she loves your voice.
Oh, well, thank you, Kim.
Yep. And just getting back to the last story for a moment, T.S. Jackson clarified that JJ was adopted.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Okay, but not Tylee, not the
Not
older
yeah,
one.
Tylee was her blood,
Oh, okay.
donor.
Okay.
So, according to the prosecutor, Halderson did attend college, but he flunked out after 1 semester. And then that's when he claimed to get a job at SpaceX and even lied to his girlfriend about renting an apartment and buying a car to move to Titusville, Florida, where SpaceX, has their facilities. And he purportedly said he's going to be an astronaut, just flat out.
Oh, wow, by flunking out of school.
Hmm.
If only all of us could attain such dreams.
So, then he had some problems. So, as a way to escape the lies he had spun, he faked getting a serious concussion from a fall downstairs. He allegedly claimed to have a brain bleed. Well, it's not alleged anymore, but he claimed to have a brain bleed, a hematoma, spinal damage, and other severe injuries. And during his trial, the state showed jurors pictures of him wearing a neck brace. However, surveillance footage allegedly, or it definitely showed him without the brace, carrying bags of ice at the gas station, which the prosecutor said were used to ice his father's dead body.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Bart, who is Chandler's father, eventually discovered the truth about his son's college situation. Bart pretended to be Chandler in a phone call, which we're going to hear here in just a moment. It was a phone call with college representatives and found out that the school officials Chandler claimed to have communicated with were completely fictitious. And that's kind it. This one has always kind of fascinated me because you hear the exact point that unfortunately, his fate was sealed. So we'll take a look at this phone call. We'll take a listen.
I'm trying to get an appointment scheduled to meet with somebody to mainly just get a copy of the transcript and also a printed copy of a certificate that was earned and other degree verification.
Okay.
How do I get that done?
Okay. For the degree, you have to download the duplicate diploma form and send it in with a check or a money order of $4 for the diploma. For the transcript, you have to go online and request it.
Yeah, I tried requesting online and we never got them. And I've spent I don't know how many times doing that at $8 a piece. So I'm not willing to do that again.
Why is not letting you request your transcript? What is it?
It's not my system, it's your system, so don't ask me questions like that.
Are you by your computer so I can walk you through on how to get it?
I've gone through the process before. I've worked with, I tried to work with Daniel Spike to see if he can get through the information. I don't know if he's with you guys anymore, but it just seems like the ball keeps getting dropped.
Okay. I mean, it's pretty easy to request a transcript.
That's what I thought too, and
you just go to the
it hasn't come through.
So we have a third party that processes it. It's called Credentials. Mm-hmm. Did you talk to Credentials?
No.
Okay. So we have a third party. Hold on, let me look at your account first, okay? What is your ID number or social so I can access your account?
No, I don't have that.
Okay, what's your first name?
Chandler, Chandler. Last name is Hald as in David, Erson.
Okay, so it looks like you owe a balance. You owe a balance of $2,349. That's why you can't request it.
Okay. Now, if you've earned a certificate, say in that solar program,
You said
where does that get requested to?
if you earned a certificate?
Yeah.
I don't see that you earned a certificate. You were taking IT classes, right? I don't see that you were in a program.
Well, prior to the IT, there was a solar program too.
Said I don't see that you were admitted in any program.
You said they were, the IT degrees in there, right?
No, those are just classes. Like it's the general education classes and then the IT classes.
Does the internship from the spring show up in there?
Entrance, no.
God, this
Do you know? Do you
It
have
is.
an Alyssa Brandt that works in that area or anywhere in the campus?
You can just hear 'em
Alyssa,
coming
yeah,
up really
Alyssa.
No.
the pauses.
Okay. How about, does Daniel Spice still work there? Speith.
And these are all the people that Chandler's
No,
dad worked there.
it's not. So no.
Okay, that should have done. Okay, thank you for your help.
Ouch.
And those were the last recorded words of Bart Halderson. Yeah, the reason for all that confusion, Chandler had been telling them he was going to school for the past 3 years.
And
And
he had obtained a degree.
mm-hmm. And yep, exactly. He was jetting off to Florida. So after this phone call, Bart texted Chandler at about 2:10 p.m. with a text that just said, "I'm ready whenever you are," and that was in reference to them getting together to discuss the situation. Um, but before any conversation could happen, Chandler shot Bart in the back with a high-powered rifle. After that, he texted his mom saying his father's phone had died and asked her to bring him soda.
Oh, God.
And surveillance footage showed that Krista, who's Chandler's mother, entered the home and never was seen alive again. She did bring him the soda on the way home from work. He texted her at work. And the murders all occurred allegedly between, or they definitely occurred between 3 and 5 p.m. I have some old notes here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so then Chandler reported his parents missing on July 7th. And he claimed they went to a cabin up in the woods somewhere, and he continued to weave that web of lies, and he used his mom's phone to pretend to be her. He texted himself about events that didn't align with actual dates. And then he went to visit a farm owned by his girlfriend's family. And he had been claiming that he had leg injuries, he had a brain injury, and he used the visit as an opportunity to hide his father's torso in the nearby woods. They had this property and some woods out in the back. His girlfriend later cooperated with law enforcement, and she really had
Did she not have any idea?
no,
How
apparently
did
not.
he show up with a torso of a body?
Well, she didn't see the torso.
But smell it?
Well, I don't think she got anywhere near it at all.
Hmm.
Um, but she believed him 100% to be innocent. She was going to move to Florida with this guy, and her interrogation was released also after this case was settled, and her confusion, and then when she starts to come to the realization, it's just it's crazy. It's really heartbreaking because she seems like a really really nice girl, and completely believed in this guy.
Yeah. And then she feels fooled.
Right.
Right.
But she noticed that, through Snapchat that Chandler was in a forest on the banks of the Wisconsin River on July 3rd, contrary to his claims, and investigators later found Krista Halderson's legs in that area.
That's his mom.
That's his mom.
Okay. I didn't know her first name. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Why would you Snapchat where you're visiting, where you're gonna bury somebody? Why are you putting this shit on the internet? Like,
these are the questions that, yeah, we may never have answered. I don't know if there are any good answers to that. Clairol, hi Clairol. She says that if Chandler hadn't chopped them up, he'd have been better off. Wonder why he thought that was a good idea.
well, maybe it's just easier for him to lift them if they're in pieces than all in one lump,
Yeah,
you know,
and the cops got there, and it was just as you imagine a
like
horror
a
scene.
bloody, disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah. can imagine.
So naturally, police wanted to talk to him about this, and they brought him down to the station. His whole interrogation, if you haven't seen it, is really worth watching.
He has something to say.
He has something to say. It's kind of painful because he talks really slow,
Oh, as
and
slow as me?
yeah, it looks like he's on some kind of chill pill.
Oh,
I don't
no,
know
I
if
would have at least gotten stoned before going in.
it looks like he might have.
Okay.
So here's a little bit from his interrogation.
Then we just kind of hung out, and my mom gets home, and I start shrimp scampi for my dad because that's what he wanted, but we didn't have.
As Claro clarified, he didn't Snapchat. His girl just checked in to his location on.
Oh, that
Yeah.
makes more sense. Okay, because I'm like, okay, I get that he's a bad liar, but that's just plain stupid.
Yeah, so I guess.
Okay.
Shrimp, so I made shrimpless scampi.
That's just scampi.
That's where they told me while we were eating it, they were gonna go with their friends, and I was like, oh, cool. And they said they were going to the cabin. Yeah. Well, okay. We're going up north. That's how they referred to it. Who said that, mom or dad? Mom. My dad doesn't talk while he eats.
Yeah.
That's
so
an interesting detail to share.
right. Well, he was eager to share details that he could talk about. I mean, that and just little things. You'll see coming up that he shares a few details that are completely irrelevant. And I find that people do that in the interrogations I watch. They're happy to talk about anything real because the stress of lying is, got to be pretty powerful when you're in that situation. So they're relieved to talk about anything from real life.
Now, could that be why he's talking slow? Because he's
That's
trying to make sure everything he's saying is well thought out.
that's that's
Instead of
possible.
stumbling.
As well thought out as he could.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but I don't know if he's actually stoned or not. But
I
here's
did
more.
go to the farm to talk to Cress and Kat's mom. I told them what's happening with my health because I had the appointment at 2.
Did you go to the farm before or after?
After, because I told them what happened to me. And I told them the legs are probably going to be permanent and the headaches should be fixed after the hemorrhage is cleared a little bit. Then I go up to have, a breakdown by their shed and they go swimming. I actually cried. Started kicking grass, just doing the toddler tantrum shit. Then I hopped in the water with them.
Yeah, so that's not creepy at all. So his girlfriend's mom and her girlfriend were in the hot tub together, and they see Chandler off in the woods doing something. They can't see that he's getting the torso out and all that kind of
So
stuff.
that's why he's kicking the ground. He's got to cover up the body.
Yeah, that might be it.
Okay.
So then, if that's not creepy enough, he comes back and he gets in the water with them. And they would say later that he kind of had this flat affect like he does here. And you can imagine just his creepy eyes, just,
Yeah.
right across from them. And by this point, of course, the parents are dead. He's chopped them up into bits. And I guess this is his way of dealing with that. But he goes on to, sorry, go ahead.
Jacuzzis can be relaxing. They help relieve stresses.
Yeah,
So.
they can until Chandler comes along and sits right across from you. Here's more.
So I think it's time we start talking about what happened to your parents.
Oh, yeah, this is the come to Jesus moment where the detectives first confront him about the dead folks.
A truthful version. Okay. So we have like 20 pages of writing. We're going to start with a clean white piece of paper for you to start telling the truth. Okay. Why? Because listen to me. This is the only chance you're going to have to tell us the truth. Okay. What we listen. I can't tell you what we know, but we know you're not telling us the truth. We know your parents are no longer with us. Okay, and we know the reason why. Okay, you need to tell the truth. Listen. You need to tell the truth about what happened, and just tell us why it happened.
Ms. Jackson said his flat affect is probably from his pretend hemorrhage.
Yeah, that would affect.
Okay, that was it for the interrogation. Man, yeah. So 48 Hours, CBS has a show about that coming up. I think it's a rerun, but it's worth watching as well. So yeah, yep.
Do you remember what his he was sentenced, right? Like,
He was, yeah,
yeah,
his life without parole.
life, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, only one life?
Uh, yeah, unfortunately.
Huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he never made it to Florida.
Oh, sure that's fine.
All right. So, if you thought that was kind of heavy, we're going to end with something a little bit lighter. It's a good news
It's
story.
like a peppy
It
story.
really is a peppy story.
Yeah.
And it involves a nice lady named Marjorie Perkins. She's 87 years old from Brunswick, Maine. She's got the accent along with it. And she was home alone when she awoke to a male intruder threatening to attack her. The intruder threatened to cut her, but Perkins, she's a former elementary school teacher, she decided to fight back. And you'll see that we have a news story about it, and you'll see what happened.
Care for a woman in Brunswick. She woke up early this morning around 2 a.m. to find an intruder standing over her bed, threatening to cut her with a knife. News 7's Alex Haskell spoke with that woman. He joins us live in the newsroom. Alex, how is she doing tonight?
Yeah, Zach, she is okay and wasn't hurt. In fact, the woman tells me she fought off the intruder.
I woke up to see a male standing over me by my bed, telling me he was going to cut me.
A terrifying start to the day for 87-year-old Marjorie Perkins.
I jumped out of bed, got my shoes on real fast because they don't have ties, and I was ready to kick.
Her intruder quickly learned he had picked the wrong home to break into. Thinking fast, Marjorie says she picked up the only thing nearby.
I grabbed my chair, and he grabbed me by the shoulders and pushed me against the wall and so forth. So I took my chair and I kept hitting him.
Having had enough of Marjorie's beating, she says the young man headed for the kitchen.
He said he was very hungry, so I gave him crackers and peanut butter.
While he was eating, Marjorie took the chance to call police. The intruder inside her home on Beverly Drive, police say, is a juvenile who is staying just a few blocks away.
You just don't think it's going to happen in your neighborhood, and here it is. So it's surprising.
The incident shocking those who live nearby. Looking over her home after, Marjorie says the young man must have got in through this back window.
And this was pushed way over.
No doubt a terrifying experience, but Marjorie says there's no need to have sympathy.
Don't sit and cry about it. If it comes up again, do it again. Be ready to kick and then pick up a chair and hit somebody with it.
I want to give that lady a hug.
I know, right? Beat him off. What's kind of cool is as I read on a little bit about this story that the kid actually apparently like 10 years before used to mow her lawn. So he actually knew her, you know?
That's right, and probably had been inside her house or at least had a look at it.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess he was arrested for being drunk as a minor and assault and all of that. They won't of course share his name because he's a minor, but man, 87 years old.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
she doesn't look 87.
No, oh, she doesn't fight like she's 87 either. Okay.
Yeah, so that gave her enough time to call police. Apparently calmed him down, fed him some crackers and some snackies, and yeah, good for her. That's a really
They always say you never think it's going to happen in your neighborhood. And maybe I watch too much true crime, but I always think it's going to happen in my neighborhood. I'm like, the minute I see even like a helicopter, I'm like, who are they after?
Well, there was a police raid down the street just a couple weeks ago where we
that's
live.
true. Yeah.
This house was raided by the police, and I guess for drugs, maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the
we
whole SWAT
assume.
team was down there, and our street was closed off for the whole day.
Yeah, that was exciting.
That was exciting.
We should have come out with cameras.
So, Clara, are you saying that Tiffany narrated an audiobook?
I don't think I've ever
Do you
narrated
recall
an
that?
audiobook.
Maybe it's
I would
maybe it's
like
your
to if you know
yeah,
someone.
maybe it's your doppelganger, but but she also goes on to say you're nearly a goddess.
Ooh.
In
Well, it's not really wrong to say you're a goddess. It's just wrong to kill people.
Renee said, "Go, Granny. She's fierce." Ms. Jackson said, "Good for her." And Renee says, I hope I'm as tough at her age." Yeah, me too.
Yeah, right? I hope I'm as tough now. I'm not sure if it
Mm,
happened now, I would be, ready to fight someone off of the
yeah,
table.
I hope I make it to 87.
Oh, that's uplifting.
We'll find
Yeah.
out. But yeah, pretty crazy.
I know T.S. Jackson, I can't believe she made him peanut butter and crackers. See, and that kind of shows the kind of heart she has. Okay, I know you're
Yeah,
done trying to kill me, but if you're hungry, let me make you something to eat, you
yeah,
know?
right. I think it was probably a little bit more than just a ploy to get him to calm down. She probably genuinely did care. I wonder if she recognized him at the time,
Uh,
as the
I I don't
young
know,
man that
10
was.
years, there's a huge difference between how I looked at 7 to how I look at 17.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would have recognized me if it had been, like, kind of time frame.
Anyway, that's good old Marjorie Perkins.
Wait, Clairol,
we're
wait.
we're waiting, Clairol.
Yeah, on the edge of our seats
While we
here.
wait, we'll take the time to introduce our new store, TiffieLou.com, where you can get those Dr. Boone shirts, absolutely criminal hats, tumblers, all that kind of stuff. 10% off with the promo code TiffieLou. She says the person that narrated that book also had a small part in a police show that we already discussed previously.
Hmm.
Who was that exactly?
I don't know.
But yeah, thank you guys for showing up here. Let us know in the comments below what kind of things you'd like to see on our live show, what kind of episodes you'd like to see next. We're still getting notes together for an episode about Lori Vallow, an episode about Courtney Clenny. It's
Mhm.
just been a little slow lately. I apologize. I've been distracted by Sarah Boone and
Sarah Boone's distracting.
she is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that does it. That's the Ballad of Marjorie Perkins, and that's a really good way to end the show.
Yeah. It was great having you guys come out tonight.
Yeah, we always look forward to seeing you. We're gonna try to do these lives Mondays and Thursdays,
Yeah.
and
Also, if we do them at 7 because we're in California and that's just a really great time for us. However, if it doesn't work for a lot of you, I have a feeling a lot of you are East Coasters, which makes it 10. I know some people have
Mhm.
jobs they go to every day. Anyway, if you guys have a better time that might work for you, we can put out a poll maybe, get some votes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just see
Let us
what
know what
everybody
works
votes
best for
on.
you,
Yeah,
or if this works just
otherwise
fine.
we'll keep it as is, and we'll see you on Thursday at 7.
Yep, and T.S. Jackson is right after my own heart because they would have put a healthy dose of blood pressure meds in that peanut butter. That sounds like a good plan, and that's a good note to end the show on. We'll see you on Thursday. We love you, and let the darkness come alive, Tiffy.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Under the trees, I found a box of black pearls. I couldn't believe that it could change our known world. Under the stars.
Hold the phone. I Love Lucy is here. Good to see you, Lucy.